Hi, folks. Welcome to Half and Half this morning. We are back in Blue Mountains. We had a pretty good drive back from Crestone. It was crazy rain and wind at certain points. And so here we are. Now it's sunny and the grass is it's almost like it was when I was a kid in the backyard of my house. I know my dad is watching, and he had some tall grass in the backyard sometimes. Our grass is very tall. We lost a cat earlier in the grass, but we found him. He's okay. Andy's okay, but we couldn't find him when we came back. So anyway, should we do some Pilates and some movement lab? Maybe move around a little bit. Sounds like lots of people have sunny days, which is so nice. Maybe we get a little movement in and then you go out and work in your garden or ride your bike or whatever it is. I think it's always good to start your day like this, and then you feel better with all the other stuff you do. So, how about we just do a good old start on your back? We'll do some knee folds and see where it takes us. So, knees bent, feet flat, heels in line with your sits bones. And take a couple breaths. And just feel how your breath is moving. When I have like a nice day outside and a sunny day outside, I think my breath just automatically gets a little fuller. It's like I really want to breathe in that fresh air. Maybe you visualize being outside and imagine breathing in all that nice fresh air. A little bit of sun on your body helps you relax and settle. And then with your next exhale, feel a little bit of tone in your abdominals, down low, below your navel, way down in the pelvis. Those muscles come on. Inhale, let them go. And as you exhale, lower abdominals get flat, wide, and just a little tone. Don't clench, just a little bit of awareness there. The more you try to really tighten and really contract, the more likely you are to turn on a bunch of other muscles. Your glutes, your psoas, your hips, your pelvic floor. If you think light tone, let the belly drop, let it widen. You're more likely to isolate your deep postural abdominal muscles. Now, next time you exhale, see if you can keep that tone on the inhale. Exhale, it gets a little deeper. So you have your abdominals working lightly. They work on the inhale, they work on the exhale. Now, it doesn't mean your belly is totally still. Your belly still has a little bit of movement in and out as you inhale and exhale. Not as much as if you totally let your abdominals go. But just like if you had a dumbbell and you were working your bicep, your arm would be moving, the angle of your elbow would be changing, but your bicep muscle would work the whole time. It's the same thing. As you inhale and exhale, your belly moves a little bit, but it keeps its tone. Now let's add some knee folds in with that same feeling. Inhale, right leg floats up. Exhale, right leg lowers. Inhale, left leg floats up. Exhale, it lowers. So same idea. You're inhaling, you're exhaling. Your abdominals keep that tone. You try not to Clench everywhere else, hips, butt, back, wherever, neck. Leave all that out of it. Keep alternating. One leg up. Exhale, lower it down. And a few more times. This time think, what can you let go of? What are you working that you don't need? One more each side. Finish up this set. And once you have both feet on the floor next time, relax everything. Do a whatever breath, a belly breath, a rib breath. Let it all go. Hands come to your lower ribs. Let's do a little more directed breathing into the ribs. Inhale, ribs spread out sideways. Exhale, ribs draw in towards each other. And you can stay where you are, but I'm going to come up to sitting just in case you're not sure. Maybe you're new today, but just to show what I'm talking about with ribs breathing out and in. Inhale, the ribs go out wide. Right and left half of the rib cage separate. And exhale, ribs draw in towards each other. So like you're drawing the right and left half together with your exhale. Your chest relaxes as you do it, just like we did down in your belly. As you exhale, you're creating some tone in your upper abdominals. That draws your ribs together. You want to let go of the other stuff, the chest, the neck, the back. Now, next time you exhale, feel that sense of the ribs being heavy, being drawn in, being connected, a little bit of work in the upper abdominals to hold it, and then see if you can, just like you did with your belly, inhale and keep some of that tone. And exhale, feel it a little deeper. Doesn't mean your ribs don't move at all. This means you keep some of that sensation, some of that work in your upper abdominals. And it might just feel like awareness. You just have some awareness of that. Now let's take your hands behind your head and we'll add in the mini crunch to that. Breathing in wide ribs and exhale ribs together. Bring your head up. Look in between your knees. Inhale wide ribs again. Exhale ribs draw together. It inches you up just a little more. And lower back down on the inhale. And there's your pattern. So exhale, find the upper abdominals. Stabilize your ribs. Bring your head up. Hold your head up. Do another inhale, exhale. And lower back down. And we'll do a couple more of those. Breathing in and exhale. Stay here. And this time, notice your pelvis. Are you starting to grab down in your lower back or your hips? That same easy tone in your belly that we did before, kind of light tone. Now let's keep your head up and add the knee folds in. One leg up, exhale, lower. Other leg up. So we got some multitasking. Lower abdominals has that tone. Ribs have their tone drawing together. Can you get all that to work as one thing? And after your next time with the left leg, lower your head down. And then breathe however you like. Just let it all go. And maybe you notice some stuff. I noticed my back was on a little, it's not a big deal. Now I just let it go. Had a little bit of back. Definitely had some abdominals too, so that's not too big a problem. But now I'm going to relax everything. And then however you like, bring yourself up to sitting. And we'll flip over onto your hands and knees. Hands under your shoulders and knees right under your hips. And the same, almost the same position we were in, especially when you think about the torso. The torso's in this nice lined up position, but we're just flipped upside down now. So then can you find light tone in your lower belly? And then take a look, like as you pull your lower belly in, don't let it move your pelvis, right? It's very common that I turn the abdominal muscles on and I tip my pelvis. It's not a bad movement, just not what we're doing here. So leave your pelvis in place, find the tone in your belly. And then that same thing, think of your ribs drawing together as you exhale. So we have upper abdominals, lower abdominals. Now everybody's head hangs forward a little bit for the most part. So think of your head floating backwards a little bit, back of your neck really open. And just like you were lying on your back a moment ago, everything's lined up. Now do your full inhale, exhale. Keeping all that together. Tone on the inhale, tone on the exhale. But there's still movement. Now we're going to start kind of slowly, but that just means you get to work deeper, right? So one hand reaching forward and off. That arm up by your ear, fingertips reach forward. And then take your hand back to the floor. And then other side, same thing, reaching forward. Now this really only feels like a core exercise if you keep your torso still. So I've got my torso in place. I've got my tone working. I'm going to try not to shift to the right when my left hand comes off. That's what wants to happen. Or I want to twist. I'm going to try to keep everything just like it is. Left hand comes off. And back down. That's how I make it a core exercise. And one more each side. And back in. Now we do the same thing one leg at a time. I think it's a little harder one leg at a time. Your pelvis is definitely going to want to shift to the opposite side. So it's okay. It might shift a little. Mine probably will. But you're going to think of keeping it still, right? You're going to minimize how much you shift. So ribs, belly, and then right leg reaching back. And just a little off the floor. Mostly you're just reaching out. It comes off the floor a little. If it comes up really high, then you're going to have to arch your back. That's just how it is. So you keep it kind of low so that you can keep your abdominals. Again, arching your back isn't a bad thing. It just won't get in your core in the way we're trying to work. Head in line with the rest of the spine. Exhale, ribs together. Imagine your leg gets a little longer, your knee gets a little straighter. That, for me, helps me feel the hamstring along with everything else. And a little into my glutes, but not a big deal. Okay, you ready to put it together? Left arm, right leg. Almost easier, right? Because you're counterbalancing. Torso stays really in place. This is the easiest one, I think, to keep the torso still. It gets the clearest. Still work. Switching opposite arm and leg. One more each side. And then sit your butt back over your heels. Take a little weight off your wrist. Move your hands around if you want. Now in this position here, reach your arms out a pretty good amount. You can lift your body up a little bit. You might, be like this. If your knees are a little stiffer, that's fine. Wherever you are, get a good solid feel for your hands. And then let's come back to hands and knees again. And then feeling your belly, ribs in, belly in. I'm in a little bit of a round spine position working the belly. Now I'm going to keep working the belly, but change the spine to arch the back. So chest opens, pelvis drops, and looking out in front of you. And then reverse that. Look into your belly, open your back, round your spine, look back to your knees, and then push back maybe about halfway. Feel your back open. And then reversing. The whole time I have that feeling of tone in my belly, ribs drawing together. But I'm really changing the shape of my spine, right? Very different than what we were doing before, trying to keep the spine really still. One more back and forth. And then just come to sitting and take a look at the screen for a moment. So I'm going to tell you what I see most commonly, but also what I tend to feel. And your experience might be 2 out of 3 of what I talk about. It might be 1 out of 3, or it might be something slightly different. But just to give you kind of a feel for it and what tends to work well in the abdominals or doesn't, when I go forward, a lot of times we're used to doing just kind of a stretch and thinking I'm going to let the abdominals totally go and stretch through here. It tends to put a lot of weight on the wrist. For me, it tends to put some weight into my lower back as well, and really kind of stiffens into that. So in Pilates, we're often talking about supporting from the abdominals. A little different. That also makes my upper back support a little bit more too. Now, sometimes what happens is people support from the abdominals and then suddenly your butt is really lifted and you kind of lose the angle in the front of your hip. It's really tight in the hip flexors. So feeling the tone in your belly that we were working on before, keep the tone in your belly, but let your hips actually open, right? So we have these kind of 3 ways. Nothing, right? Looks like this. Too much looks like this. And then the Goldilocks place, right? Using the belly, but letting the front of the hips open, relaxing in the butt, right? And getting that tone in the belly, lets the quads open, lets the back release, all that stuff. Now, sometimes that's working really well. but it's lost in the chest and the ribs and the shoulders, right? So wide elbows, wide shoulder blades, ribs together with the pelvis still dropping. Yeah, maybe you're trying that, figuring that out for yourself. Now, when I go back in the other direction and round the spine, for me, I really want to squeeze my butt and my pelvic floor and everything to open my back. It's not really working my belly all that much. So I really have to think about not like just trying to feel the ribs in the belly when I go back and not like adding an extra like super tuck. Just let the butt relax, the pelvic floor relax, and the ribs come in. A little bit of belly. So try a couple more. See what it's like for you. How that changes it. And then you can go back into child's pose one more time as you finish that up. Okay, so let's use some of that stuff as we roll up and down. So feet hip distance apart, a little bit flexed so the heels are up, the knees are bent, and then round spine, the position we were just working on. I'm back behind my tailbone, behind my sits bones. I'm on kind of the bottom part of the pelvis, but definitely the back of the pelvis. And then it was the same thing we just did, round spine, ribs in, belly in, but not clenching all this, right? Letting that relax, but really deepening into the belly. Hands go on your legs, or if you know this one and you want to do it without your hands, that's fine too. Working your way down. Feel the tone in your belly. Feel the tone in your ribs. And down onto your back. And as you bring your head up, that clenching is very common in the butt and the pelvic floor and the inner thighs and all that. Leave your pelvis. Let it settle. Ribs, belly. Hands on your legs. And as you pull with your hands, try not to clench. Then lift your pelvis up. Now, it might move a little. It's not the worst thing. But just pay attention to it. See if you can do less there, whether you use your hands or not. And here we go again. Ribs, belly. Hands, perhaps. Slow you down. Relax your thighs. Inhaling. Exhale. Leave your pelvis. Use your ribs. Use your belly. Yeah. 3 more times. You could go halfway down and up, and then you might do it a few more times. Or if you're going all the way down and up, probably got time to do about 3 more. Exhale. Inhale, you still have the belly when you inhale. Exhale, it engages deeper. And last one. And all the way up to sitting. Okay, so let's go onto your back. We're going to do the shoulder bridge. We're going to work with those same concepts there. So knees bent, check them out, make sure they're on the same line. I like to do it this way. Scoot your butt a little forward to your heels, and then when you come back, you should be able to not move your feet. And so then you know they're lined up like you want them to. So shoulder bridge, again, that same thing. A lot of times when I start to do shoulder bridge, Scott often talks about the posterior tilt of the pelvis. He's very specific and anatomical, right? It is that same shape of like curling the pelvis, or sometimes what people think of as tucking the pelvis. And then some people will say, well, what's the difference between a posterior tilt and a tuck? And I mean, maybe nothing, but in our minds, the difference is how much things are grabbing, right? So if I'm like grabbing in my tailbone and like grabbing in my inner thighs and squeezing my butt and all that stuff, that's more of what a tuck is. And it's often not getting into your spine very much. So generally what we're talking about is that deep low belly feeling, letting it draw in, not grabbing all the other stuff, feeling the ribs, and then feeling the pelvis is going to tip until you feel your lower back on the floor. Pelvis gets lighter. And you press through your feet to carry the weight of the pelvis. Start to get some hamstrings. Maybe naturally your glutes come on a little bit, but mostly you're not necessarily trying to. You're just thinking of the belly, rolling the spine up off the mat, keeping the chest relaxed, pressing the feet. You really don't need your glutes until you get pretty high. And then coming back down, one vertebra at a time, the upper back. Soften the chest. Feel the lower ribs. Work your way through the lower back, one vertebra at a time. And then let your pelvis totally relax back into neutral. So if you want, try it with your arms up. Lets you focus a little more just on the spine. Little exhale, posterior pelvic tilt. Let the ribs soften as the pelvis lifts. One vertebra at a time coming up. Soft chest. One vertebra at a time coming down. Everything relaxes to neutral. Last one. Hold it here a couple breaths this time once you get up. And just do a little check-in, kind of like we did lying on your back. Can you get that deep low belly feeling? Just a little tone. Ribs together feeling. Easy neck. Easy lower back. Probably some good hamstring work. Maybe a little glute work. And coming back down. And then bring yourself up to sitting. Okay, I think we're ready to pass the torch / AirPod. Mantle? Do you pass the mantle? I don't think you do. Something like that. We'll see if Ruthie goes with me. She tends to go with me.
Alrighty. So let's pick up where Colette left off and do a little bit more of that spine articulation work, and then segue into some of the things that may look more familiar from the vantage point of yoga. So once again, let's head back to the floor, or as the dancers say, go into the floor instead of out of the floor. And then you did that bridge pose already. So let's take a look at a couple more like that. I'm going to introduce a few additional ideas. So as Colette mentioned, I like to use the term posterior pelvic tilt. Remember how we were looking to source that from the belly rather than from the tailbone, rather than clenching the pelvic floor muscles. So keeping the pelvic floor muscles toned but not clenched. Lifting your spine up segment by segment, piece by piece. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit of a pull in the front of my hips and in my thighs. So I always tend to be a little bit tight here, but especially after a couple days in the car. So whatever you may or may not be feeling, recharge the posterior pelvic tilt. Lift your hips a little higher up. Now ready for the fun part? To take your hips even higher up toward the ceiling. Lift your heels up a couple inches. Now to more open the fronts of your hips, see if you can keep the posterior tilt. See if you can keep your hips as lifted as they currently are. And then slowly over a count of 5, descend your heels down. 5, 4, without dropping your pelvis. 3, 2, 1, contact. Couple breaths here. And then rolling down segment by segment. See if you can feel all those vertebrae articulating. Then release everything back to spine neutral. All right, let's do that again. Step 1, posterior pelvic tilt, sourcing from your belly and not by tucking your tail. Then maintain that posterior tilt, if not deepen it, as you roll up. Segment by segment, piece by piece. And then to take your hips even higher up, lift your heels up. Take a moment here, check in posterior tilt, keeping the elevation of your pelvis. Slowly descend both heels down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Contact. Couple breaths here to help release your iliopsoas muscles. And then slowly, slowly lower down, segment by segment, mobilizing your lower back. Very often lower back comes down in a lump. See if you can feel each segment. All right, now the hands and knees. So from hands and knees, moving into yoga pose, head down dog. So sorry, Ruthie Cat, that we're doing a dog pose in your presence, but we'll just be here for a few breaths. Then with the next out breath, step your feet forward to gorilla. It should be more pleasing to Ruthie Cat, gorilla instead of a dog. And with the next inhale, fold. Let your head hang. And you feel how your spine is in a flexed position. So what we're going to do next is a lot like what you did at the outset in the roll-up. See if you can mobilize your spine, coming up segment by segment, vertebra by vertebra, arms up, Chin up, arms down. All right, let's do a little more mobility work. Step your feet wide apart. Turn your left foot in and then your right foot out. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. Exhale. Inhale, a couple more. So this is really nice way to mobilize your ball and socket joint. So pelvis more or less faces forward. Thigh more or less moves toward the side. And maybe you can feel that ball and socket joint, hip socket, mobilizing. The next time knee in the bent position, pause there. So the next instruction is a little trick to engage some of the deeper musculature in your body. To engage that deeper musculature, that bent leg, lift that heel up a few inches. Feel how your knee lifted up too? So imagine that knee is going to stay this high up. And in a moment when you descend your heel down, that it's going to stretch your shin and make your shin longer. So power of the mind. Imagine your knee stayed this high lifted, and to stretch your shin longer, slowly descend your heel down. 5, 4, 3, knee stays lifted. 2, 1, contact. Few breaths here. Take that right foot. With the next inhale, press it into the basement and turn back to the front. And then step your feet together. Left side of your body, feel the same as your right side. And if not, how would you characterize the difference, left side to right side? This inquiry is an anxiety remedy. When you're feeling anxious, check in with your body. All right, we should do the second side. Step your feet wide apart. Turn your right foot in, then your left foot out. So torso more or less facing forward. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. And up and down like that. So now we get a chance to mobilize left ball and socket joint. What I find is when I move slowly like this, I get a chance to experience the intricacy of that ball and socket joint, what it feels like bending a third of the way, halfway, 2/3, straightening. So it's not a monolithic feeling through the duration, is it? Constantly shifting, constantly evolving. What's the point? To feel your body, to help calm your mind. So this time when your knee's bent, keep your knee bent. Then to work at a little deeper level, we're going to harness the mind. Take your heel and knee up. And just like we did on the first side, imagine your knee was going to stay this high up. And that your shin would lengthen as you slowly descend that heel down. 5, 4, keep your knee lifted. 3, 2, 1. Contact, you have a longer shin now. A few moments here. Now take that left foot. Press it down into your floor to come up. Turn back to the front. And then step your feet together. So no expectation or admonition, the two sides should feel the same right now. But once again, the invitation to feel your body. Let's do a little bit more mobility work. Bring your hands to your hips. Step your feet medium wide apart. Turn your left foot in, right foot out. And to face toward the side wall, turn your left foot just a little bit more in. So both knees more or less straight, straight but not locked. Then from your hip sockets, fold. Now, once you start to feel a little bit of a pull on that left hamstring, let's pause there. And that foot that's right there in your field of vision, spread your toes out. Rest your toes on the floor. And now press your toes and the ball of your foot down to slightly lift that heel up. Couple breaths here. Bring that heel back down. Now, rather than coming up from your head or your neck or your shoulders, that foot that you're looking at, submerge it into your floor. Press that foot down to come up. And back to the front. Second side. Right foot in, left foot out. Right foot a little bit more in. So you can probably see on the screen, my knees aren't perfectly 100% straight. More or less straight is just fine. Then from your hip sockets, there are those ball and socket joints again, fold. And notice how the sensations shift from moment to moment, degree to degree. And take a peek at that foot down there. Good morning, foot. How's it going? And that foot down there, spread your toes out. Rest your toes and lightly press the ball of your foot down to lift that heel up. It doesn't come very high up, does it? A few breaths here with the heel lifted. And slowly descend your heel down. And that whole foot, toes, ball of the foot, heel, pressing down. Use downward flow to create upward lift. Turn back to the front and step your feet together. All right, so now let's consolidate some of those ideas. Feel your feet on the floor. That's all you need to do. Don't need to do anything with your feet or to your feet. And with your head lifted, head high, see if you can feel the texture of what contacts your feet, whether it's your socks or your floor or your mat. So no expectation that you will or can feel the texture, but more an inquiry, an open-ended question. So now, just like we did in the prior activity, fan your toes. If you lifted them up, bring them back down. And then take the forefoot, balls of your feet and your toes, press them down to slightly elevate your heels. Now, a lot of people report when they slightly elevate their heels that they feel their lower belly muscles engage. So see if you can keep that tone in the lower belly. And now we're going to imagine you're going to make both legs longer, not just the shins, but the whole leg. Keep this lift of your lower belly. And then descend your heels to stretch your legs longer. 5, 4, belly stays lifted. 3, 2, 1. Contact. A few moments here standing tall. This is similar to what we did in the bridge, isn't it? Let's take a look again. Shift the weight from your heels to the forefoot. Slightly lighten, if not lift, your heels. Feel how belly muscles automatically engage. So keep that lift of your lower belly, what in some traditions is called the Uddiyana Bandha. And now stretch your legs longer by descending your heels to the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feel how those iliopsoas muscles release into lengthening. All right, so now we're going to put a whole lot of pieces together. So remember that imagery of knitting your lower ribs? We use the exhale to accomplish that. So this exhale knit. All right, keep that knit. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, mobilize your spine segment by segment. You've done this already. Now with the inhale, keep those ribs knit as you stretch forward to help open your upper back. Exhale, head down dog. We'll take a few breaths here. And then come on down to your knees. Stretch your toes back. You've done this already. Remember how you drew your navel toward your spine and kept that tone in your belly as you released the fronts of your hips. And then we move from hands and knees to upward facing dog pose, head up dog. A few breaths here. And then just like you worked with Collette, keep that tone in your belly as you pull back. As you go from hands and knees to head down dog. A few breaths here. All right, so forthcoming movement is a very real chance that your lower ribs disconnect from your belly. And then you won't get the good benefit in your upper back. So let's use breathing to facilitate. Exhale, knit your ribs. Keep your ribs knit as you inhale forward to gorilla. Exhale, fold, another chance to knit your ribs. Then keep that knitted as you inhale up. And if you keep the ribs knit, chest opens more. So the secret to opening your chest, the secret to freeing your upper back is what you do in your lower ribs. So that's right here in standing. Take a deep inhale. Then with the exhale, knit. First thing you worked on in today's session. All right. Keep the shoelace tied. Inhale. Exhale, fold segment by segment. Tie the shoelace. Inhale, gorilla. Exhale, head down dog. Next exhale down to your knees. Inhale, head up dog. Exhale, head down dog. Knit. Inhale, gorilla. Exhale, fold. Knit. And keeping the knit open up. Arms down. All right. Then move on to your back to relax. Not to imply that you were tense, but whether you're reclining on a sofa or the floor or bed, so take whatever time you need to get comfortable. So as best you can, forget everything that we just did. So that can seem counterintuitive. Maybe there was an instruction or a cue that you liked or it felt good. So it's not uncommon that there's mental tension that arises from doing this kind of body work. So the invitation is to trust that your body has integrated whatever was useful or beneficial, and let your thinking brain take a break. So whether you've kept your eyes open or closed your eyes, imagine that your forehead brain or your frontal cortices are taking a break. And then handing it over to the body and your brainstem, that whatever may have been useful or helpful will be remembered somatically without need of your frontal cortices tensing up. Relax your thinking brain. Deeply dropping into your body. We'll spend a few more moments here quietly. All right, so for those of you who closed your eyes, slowly and gently open your eyes. And then as you feel ready, sit up. All right. So one of the themes in the work that we do is the body is really intelligent. And this thinking brain often likes to be in charge. It's not to negate the thinking brain. It can be so helpful in working with the body and to learn new skills, but to also recognize and honor just how intelligent these bodies are. So any comments, questions in the chat here today? Yes. So announcement that our summer schedule is now open. And if you haven't had a chance to do so, please feel free to sign up for classes in June. You can do that on your own, Or if you'd like to do things more conveniently and sign up for the whole summer, you can email Elisa at info@pilatesonharrison.com. And for those of you watching synchronously, that is up in the chat as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and let's do this again really soon.